is, you are the creator. You were the first one really launching what we call the niche and luxury perfume. If you have an advice to give to brand owners here, what would you tell them if they want to go into Harrods?
Oh, that's very difficult to say. That's very difficult. So just for you to know a little bit of my background, I've worked in the industry now for 50 years, as I'm slowly becoming very ancient, it seems. I fell in love with perfume when I was a child. I worked at Guerlain for 20 years and then, for various reasons, decided to start my own company. I never, ever intended to have a commercial brand. I decided to launch Roja for one reason only, and it was because my mother died. And a friend gave me a metaphoric slap around my face, which lasted about 2.5 hours over dinner, and said, "You've spent your entire life promoting everybody else's work and curating it. When are you going to do it for yourself?" And I left and phoned Peter, my partner I've lived with all my life, and said, "We're going to launch a perfume brand." So I had, 21 years ago, launched a very, very interesting perfumery in Harrods. I'm sure a lot of you know it. It was the first of its type anywhere in the world, which a lot of people don't realize, that some of you are not old enough to know that. But when we launched it, the industry, in my opinion, had turned its back on its own patrimony. And so I went invited into Harrods for a cup of tea. And literally before I was seated, they said, "We want to open a perfumery with you." So like, oh, okay. And so the perfumery came about as a celebration for what I thought, a very personal edit of what I thought was great that had been created over the years in the industry, which the industry had turned its back on. So when you go anywhere in the world now and pick up a bottle of Diorling or Diorama, they remade it for me. When you go to buy Quelques Fleurs from Aubigon, they made it for me, remade it. So it was a very special place, and I had no idea whether the thing would work because it wasn't where the industry was. The industry had been bought up by some huge multinationals who were wonderfully brilliant at marketing, and everything was about lifestyle and what was new. So these fragrances seemed very old. When you see 1 liter perfumes and 500 ml perfumes in gold bees at Guerlain, we were the first. We had them in our shop. They were made for us. There are so many things. I've got to the stage now where I used to be very modest about things. I hope I still am a modest person. But as I'm coming toward the end of my career and not the start of it, I think it's really important that people understand what this shop did. And so we launched shop. It was the first shop in the world to be called an haute parfumerie. I was trying to explain it, and I said, it's the difference between prêt-à-porter and haute couture. This is haute parfumerie. And so the name came, first shop to be called it. Now everybody calls everything haute parfumerie, and I think the phrase has become banal. So I've changed the name of my shop to Roja Dove Perfumery. And I do very soft things for my own pleasure. So when we launched Roja, so it's a very long answer to the question, but to come to the question, when I was about to launch my brand, I spoke to the buying director of Harrods and said, "Just to let you know, I'm doing this." And they said, "Tell me more." So I told them more. And then they said, "We want to have it in the shop." Oh, okay. And I had to ask what seemed like a really silly question. How much do we make? And they said, "Make this much. It will last you 4 to 6 months." You have to think that when I grew up, I fell in love with perfume. I've always said the title I like most is parfumeur, not eau toiletteur. And the industry said no one wears perfume anymore. And I believed it was because the industry had lost the belief in the product which the industry was founded on. So if you don't offer something to a customer, of course they're not going to ask for it. So what we bought, what we sold, what we made was perfume. So they said, "Make this much. It will last you 4 to 6 months." That's what we did, and we sold out of every single piece of stock within 10 days. By the end of the first 6 months, we were the #1 selling brand in Harrods. I have that in writing from Michael Ward, the CEO. I'm very proud of it. Our brand is an English brand. We borrowed not one single penny, and the rest, as they say, is history. And then I started to watch what other brands were doing, and the industry's average price was £30, and we ended up with this entry price of £295 and £450. And in our industry, if people made a product like that, it wasn't to sell. It was like the little show-off thing. And I suddenly watched a lot of major brands come in and buy everything we made. That was interesting. I suddenly watched people, I know one brand who suddenly put a number one in front of the price ticket of a product that was already in the market. I thought that was very interesting.
Mhm.
And I think, as the saying goes, the rest of it is history. How you get into Harrods, I think that whatever you make and whatever you have, there has to be a purpose. I think the message needs to be very clear. And I think we work and live in an overcrowded marketplace where there is a lot of banality. And I think too many people want to launch a product because they see it as an opportunity just to make money. And I think that is a very cynical way to enter a market. And I think the client base is too sophisticated. So I think if you know what you stand for and your messaging is clear and you stick with that message, you will make a clientele, in my opinion. And nothing I'm saying is anything other than my opinion, as I was asked to give it.
You're being very humble, Roja, as usual. You know, it's just, I've known you for 30 years. You always say, I can do better. And this is what I like because you do your homework wherever you go, wherever you take your fragrances. You always try to learn, you know, what is in the on the market first. And obviously, the UK market is a market where you have an amazing opportunity of retailers, e-shopper, trendsetter, etc. We have some new people some new on the block. I mean, I'm just talking to about Vesa. Vesa, you're launching. I'm sorry, I'm stealing the show now. Excusez-moi, but you're launching a new fragrance high, you know, retailer. How would you approach the this category of retailers? Where and would you think that niche fragrance would fit? Different, I would say, challengers and newcomers on the block, although although you have the expertise.
I think the British market is a very unusual market. I think London is one of the few truly global cities in the world, which might sound very odd, but I think it really is one of the few truly international cities in the world. So I think that the entire world comes through London, if that makes any sense. So I think people look to see what we do. I also think if you look at the existing retail landscape here, I think it's important to understand that department stores are a very strange thing. They're big in English-speaking countries. If you look in most of Europe, department stores are generally cheap. Generally, most people do not go to a department store for something luxury. It's something absolutely different to that, which a lot of people don't understand. I think where a brand first sells is one of the most important things of all, because you can never launch a brand twice. I know that's so obvious, but I hear so many people are so hungry. You know, they've made the thing, they're excited, they've committed a lot of money to it or whatever it is, and people want to suddenly get a return. So when you try to bang on one of the big stores,
Yes.
maybe you don't get in, and so therefore the temptation is to open in another place. But the moment you've done that, you have, as the cliche goes, you have marked your card, you have just positioned your brand. And I think that can be a very dangerous thing. I think the great thing is that the market today is, in my opinion, the most egalitarian it's ever been. I think that all the social media platforms make it egalitarian. So you can literally be sitting in your kitchen doing something, and if what you've done has a voice and has something really genuine to say, people will pick up on it, and therefore you will end up creating a demand for your product. And I think a lot of stores, it's like when I caused a huge upset. I don't mean to cause upsets, but I'm very opinionated. And I always preface it, it is just my opinion. And people thought our route to market was very odd because we didn't follow the normal route to market, normal countries that people would go to. And when I was asked in an interview, the International Herald Tribune, or one of those type of papers, I can't remember which, I turned around and said, the trouble is that too many markets are oversaturated and full of cynical people that should have given up their jobs a long time ago. Because it's the thing of, oh, well, what's that? What's that? You know, if it wasn't one of the big brands. So I think that new routes to market are really, really important. I think in Britain, being able to launch in a store, as you start the thing off, like Harrods or Selfridges, maybe Liberties, say Fortnum's, whatever, great. But where you do it marks your card. And I think that for me is the most important thing of all. So I think you really need to think with a brand. My brand is this. Who is this? Who's my customer? Who do I want my customer to be? And where are they likely to shop? Because I think often people don't join that up with where they actually go to market, if that makes any sense. Because there's drive to sell it somewhere or other.
This is a great advice, huh? Great advice.
Oh, good. Have I done my job? Can I say
Yes, I would hire you actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
But I do think it's an important. I think it's a really, really
Yes.
important point that a lot of people maybe don't stop thinking. Who would I like my client to be? Who is the client, and where do they shop?
Exactly. And so, when you became the great ambassador of Britain, bravo, monsieur.
Yeah.
I just, my question is always, what comes next? Because after doing already perfection, you're creating new collection.
Yeah.
So how do you, I would say, bring newness to the market, and what motivates this creation?
Well, first of all, just so you know, I don't know if you all do know, there's a campaign called the Great Campaign. It's cross-party. There are 30 global ambassadors for it, cultural ambassadors. I'm very proud to say I'm one. I've been since the very beginning. And it celebrates all that is great about Britain and British creativity. I think that it's very interesting. I was sitting with my lovely friend here the other day having lunch from Robert Day, and we were talking about how often new things come, brands come, and you smell this and you think that I've smelled this 40 times before. It's just another twist on another, there's no originality. And you were saying about just how boring it is to receive briefs like it. Okay, so Baccarat Rouge, for example, yes, it's a huge phenomenon. The world already has it. And in time, copies of things don't last. If you look at classical perfumes in perfumeries, the only ones that remain were the first of their type. I can't think of any examples over time where the variant has survived. So what's the point? So we work in the most extraordinarily amoebic and creative industry. And so therefore it's great to be creative rather than, somebody made a beautiful painting. Who wants to have the Athena poster on their wall? You want to have the fabulous painting, and our industry allows people to have those fabulous paintings. So I think I've gone a bit off track from your question.
It's okay, let me...
Sorry, pull me back. Pull me back.
Valerie,
Valerie, pull me back.
Exactly, but it's still very interesting. No one has left the room, so
okay.
very,
That's because you locked the door.
Yes. Exactly, it's just like at school, so it's a...
And the super glue on the seat was a good idea.
Okay, exactly. Well, the last question before we go to the real subject, right?
Oh, Valerie,
Yes?
he hasn't introduced it yet.
No, but I'm going to do another question. It's about digital channel. Because social media is now becoming very important.
Yep.
And as a perfume creator, how do you think, and what is the secret to spread around the world? The word to the world. Ouh là là, c'est difficile. The world to the world.
Well, I think, as I said earlier, what I think is fantastic is that it's the same. If you look back when magazines were a stronger and more important thing, you would flick through a million of them to end up finding the two journalists that you trusted. And so the journalists would push you towards something to look, to experience, and then to make your own mind up. And so I think when you look at all the people that have, bloggers, content creators, but also the online forums. I think the online forums are really incredibly important and very interesting because it allows people to have a direct dialogue with someone else or a group of people which help you form your own opinion. So I think that aren't we lucky? I really think it's that. I mean, just we as a brand, and what we do is not unique, but in some really what seem random markets, for some reason, somebody finds your product and they fall in love with your product and a conversation starts, and then other people from this part of the world suddenly become intrigued with your product, and you think it's a market which, through a traditional retail route, you would never have managed to make that market work, because it would cost a fortune to do it in time and investment. So I think that I think it's important to be really selective with who you work with. In the same way, you should be very selective with who your retailers are, and so on and so on. You know, I think that it's really important also to really appreciate and understand the work that people do. And I think a lot of people don't maybe look at who those content creators are. And it's, again, is the message they're saying actually the message that works with my brand? And you need to be discerning about it. It's very easy to be very scattergun with everything. And I think if you are, in the end, you dilute what you're trying to do.
Exactly, and I think
I tried to do that as a quick in parenthesis because I was rabbiting a bit.
that is excellent. Roja, I can see a beautiful selection of fragrances. Could you tell me what is this one that I don't know?
So I was asked to bring the fragrances along. I had no intention of doing it.
I forced you.
Well, you forced me, but it was very difficult to say no to you, Valerie. So this little selection I bought here, I think it's a very good example of understanding who you are and what you stand for. So ouds are everywhere, and I'm sure most of you know that most fragrances, even with the name oud in the title, have no oud inside the bottle. So I love listening to people doing all of this or reading all of this. I worked in the Middle East for 3 years. I was out there for 2 weeks every month for 3 years. I started going there 25 years ago when hardly anybody from the West went out there. I love listening to new perfumers who have suddenly discovered it, talking about it like they have discovered it. And, you know, when I was out there, I knew nothing about oud whatsoever, but I learned about oud, I learned about bakhur, I learned about mahalat, which most people don't even know exists. And so we have an extraordinary following for these products. And so I don't know quite whether you want to, would you like to smell one or two of them? But I'd like, if you do, I'd like to give you, where I'd be really bossy about what you can smell and what you can't. There is a reason behind it, not because I'm a megalomaniac, I promise. Or we have there's a new oud which most people have not smelled. You'll be some of the very first people in the world to smell, which you can just smell that and I'll shut up. Which would you prefer? So who would like to smell one or two of them so you can compare and contrast? Show your hands if you do. Okay, and how many would just want to smell the new one and that's it? And you'll get to smell the new one in the end. There's one tentative person on her own. Okay. So what I'd like to do, if you would indulge me with it, I'm going to give you a blotter. I'll give one to person on the end. If you then pass them down the aisles as quick as you can. But I'll do it. Yeah, but please don't smell them. So you'll be like, you know, cocaine addicts. So please, if you can, keep the thing away from your nose, because I'd like you to smell the blotter with me, because you will discover something. If you hold them by the end away from where the brand name is. So if you don't mind to take one and pass those along, please. Sorry. And if you don't mind taking one and pass them along that way, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you. Can I reach across and pass you those? It's not hang anybody, hopefully. Come meet people in the cheap seats. So please don't smell that, but just remember it was the very first blotter you were given. Then here comes blotter 2. So all you need to do is remember which is first and which is second. There's blotter 2. Blotter number 2. Blotter 2.
No, I can smell it. I
Okay, so I love the thing. When I see somebody pick up a scent. Shut up and listen. Sorry. I love the thing when people pick up a scent and start describing it, because I think it's one of the most difficult things in the world. I think that if you learn to compare and contrast, you end up understanding the thing that's under your nose better. And that's what I'd like to do with you now. So if you could hold blotter 1 and blotter 2 in your hands, in a moment, when you smell blotter 1, you will smell an oud, and in it, I hope you can smell a little bit of rose and a little bit of saffron. So just pop the blotter under your nose, and if you would, hold it there. Just keep it under your nose. Okay? In a second, when you swap to blotter number 2, you have to keep blotter one under your nose, otherwise it won't work. When you swap to blotter number 2 in a moment, blotter number 2 will suddenly smell very, very soft. Please swap, see if you can smell that. It's much softer. Got it? Now keep it under your nose, and I'm going to make blotter number 1 change. If you now swap back to blotter 1, all your smell are roses. Please swap. Suddenly you'll smell incredibly floral. And that's why I wanted you to smell them when I asked, rather than you sniffing them. And then come back to blotter number 2, and you will smell it's ultra soft. Got it? So remember which one's 1 and which one's 2, but just put them away from your nose for a second. So the oud, I always spell oud with the letter A, which lots of people think that I don't know how to write. It is because in the Middle East, it's not pronounced oud. That's very sort of Essex, London. In the Middle East, oud is pronounced oud. They have a floating A, and it is why I put the A there. It's very soft. Most customers wouldn't realize it's a little bit of cultural respect. It's something I'm very into. So the main scents of the Middle East are oud, rose, and saffron. So I just help you discover the rose. On its own, many of you would never have smelt the rose. And yet, when you blog about a perfume, when you do your content creation, when you are the buyer evaluating, most of you wouldn't notice there was rose in the perfume because you don't compare and contrast. The second one, which I hope you smell just how soft it is, that is really discovering what amber is about. Amber, of course, as many of you know, but some of you maybe don't, is not an ingredient. It is a mixture of things, normally traditionally based around vanilla, benzoin, and labdanum. And when you put these things together, you get this ultra soft accord. Now, I'm going to give you one more, the next blotter, and for it, you need to hold blotter number 1, put down blotter number 2, so we're not going to smell it again, and I'm going to give you one more, a new one. So blotter 3, but again, please don't smell it if you don't mind. So, thank you. Thank you.
And I'm watching.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, thank you.
You have to look at the
Thank you.
Pierre.
Thank
Léo,
you.
Pierre. Ah oui, je te vois.
Do you need help to do it?
It's nice, but thank you for offering, but it's nice to come and see. Whoever's missing. Okay. So, as we all know, fragrance is very much about storytelling, as everybody in this room, I'm sure, knows. I often find, however, when I smell a scent, the story I hear has nothing to do with what I smell, in my opinion, very often. So the stories are maybe wonderful, but what ends up under my nose does not reflect the story. So I would like to paint a little picture for you, and I want to help you smell the idea. So there is a part of Saudi Arabia called Taif. I'm sure many of you know it. And Taif is famous for growing a rose. And I'd like you to think, I don't know if you've ever done it, so you maybe have to just imagine that you're in the middle of a desert. And at night, it is black. You, of course, have the starlight, but it's black. And I'd like you to imagine in front of you, although you can't really see it, are the Taif Mountains. I'd like you to imagine how when the sun pierces the sky, it would almost dazzle you. To be able to understand it, I'd like you to smell blotter number 1 again. So just pop that blotter, the original one, under your nose. You discovered the rose there because I just helped you find it. Keep it under your nose, and in a second, when you swap to blotter 3, I'd like you to think of the sunlight bursting, it's dazzling, and your nose is going to get pulled very high up. You feel it's like you've physically been pulled to the top of the mountain. And if you keep smelling it, when you swap back to blotter number 1, you'll smell how far down your nose goes. And this rose is very warm and very velvety because you're suddenly in the middle of a city like Dubai. Swap back to blotter 3 and vroom, up you go to the top of the mountain and the sun is radiating out. So I hope you can smell what I'm describing. So the idea of the perfume, I think, is reflected perfectly, or very well, in what you pop under your nose.
Stunning, Roger. Well done. I think fantastic.
Head swell, thank you. Thank you. So then the next, 2 more things to smell if you're happy to. The next, this sort of goes back to some of the questions Valerie was asking about how do you come with a new idea or push things forward. So having worked in the Middle East for so many years, when people go who have never been, I always give them one piece of advice, and that is never take a watch with you or never look at the time on your phone because no one's ever on time. But it's true, it's just that's the society. So people are 15 minutes late, half an hour late, maybe an hour late. And if you have your watch, you'll get so twitched up by it. But when the people come, the welcome you will get will just be so warm. You'll forget if you're at all irritated. You'll be offered tea, coffee, or nana, and always cake. There is always cake. And so I was thinking about how in every culture, every generation, people love to push boundaries. We all do. None of us want to be like our parents. So we push the edge and we push the edge. So in this part of the world, we see so much change occurring, and yet the tradition is so strong that people are very aware of the boundary. So I had this idea of 2 Emirati women, one the mother and one the daughter. The mother's wearing her black abaya, she's got on black shoes, she's got a black bag, Dior or Hermes if she's wildly lucky, but it's black, black, black all the way. The daughter has on her abaya, but it most likely has Swarovski crystals or embroidery or something. Underneath comes a bright pink pop of a Louboutin shoe, and her handbag is bright orange Dior, whatever. It's soft, but it's pushing boundary. So I thought, okay, how do you make an oud which pushes a boundary? And so I thought of the cakes. And so we launched an oud called Sweetie Oud. And with this oud, when you smell it, I'll describe it and then you smell it just the minute you get it. I'd like you to think of walking into a patisserie. And if you walk into a really good patisserie where you smell very buttery brioche and croissant, even if you are not hungry, you will break a bit and eat it. It's impossible not to. So when we also think of who a client is, bear in mind I just described, I always have an idea of a person in my mind with the perfumes. And the very first person I ever saw with this perfume, in fact, was in Selfridges, and I happened to walk in and say hello to the team. And there was this enormously rotund man who was very short, who just couldn't stop smelling it. And, you know, the whole thing, of course, of gender and age and all that is absolute nonsense. It's all marketing twaddle. And I just love the fact that the man in front who had fallen in love with the scent was not the person who was in my mind that inspired the fragrance. So just smell for this very, very, very buttery note, the brioche, the croissant, and maybe you think of a little fruit tartlet that you will want to eat. So I can make your skin smell good enough to eat, and that could be dangerous, but that depends what you what you submit to.
to ask questions.
Yeah. No, he knows this is like my favourite one.
Yeah.
That you're trying to get us into trouble.
So
Look, telltale.
So I hope you can smell this. I hope you can smell this sort of very buttery, sweet, edible accord. All inspired by people not able to tell the time. What do you think? How much? One more.
Thank you.
With utter pleasure.
Can we have some back here, please? Oh, sorry. So, more.
Needy.
There we go.
I think some's just gone to the back.
Oh.
Okay, so and then the last of the things, it's you're literally some of the very first people in the world to smell it. It goes on sale, I think, next month, although it's in the Burlington Arcade shop. And it is a brand new oud. It's what I've got a really big dark oud, which we're well known for. And it came about purely because of the photos I saw on Instagram. Suddenly, I noticed nearly all of the clients we have are based in the Gulf. Nearly every other photo they post shows their fragrance, and by the side of it is an espresso or coffee. So it's, I don't know why it has, but it's become a thing, taking photos with a coffee cup. And so this is totally new, and it is called Espresso Oud. So, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think there's enough there. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's very.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Coffee. See what you mean?
We can't go on anything like this.
You still smell the food kind of DNA.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
The back row, the naughty back row.
So I hope one of the things you can smell with these fragrances, because I think it makes part of a bigger point, and I think it hopefully reinforces something I was trying to explain earlier, that each of them have a very clear identity. So therefore, in my mind, there is a reason for them existing. When I smell many fragrances, I find they're just a blur of something I've smelt before, if that makes sense. And I think that if a scent doesn't have a very clear identity, it won't stand such a good chance of surviving. I don't know, I hope that makes sense.
This is amazing. I can tell everyone wants to eat now. Just like, thank you so much, Roja. I'm sure there is some question. Yes, voila.
Thank you so much for the talk, really appreciate it. And it's nice that we're kind of the same colour scheme. However, it's great to come to exhibitions like this. As a surveyor, if you was come to this, what could you tell us to kind of elevate our experience more rather than just going around and smelling fragrances? Is there a trick you have to when you're visiting a new house?
I think that, first of all, it depends who you meet. So here, often you're meeting an owner, creator, founder. So I would want to know why their brand exists. So I'd want to know the story. Before I smell any, we end up really like drug addicts. We're all too fast. Ooh, get me to the stuff. I would, but I think it's far more interesting to try to understand what somebody had in their mind. What is the story? And therefore, in your own mind, you should start to be able to build the expectation. Will these scents make the match to what I just heard? I think that when you smell scents, I hope if you've never done it before, this thing of comparing and contrasting, for me, is one of the most useful things in the world you can do, because it helps you understand the thing you just smelt. So a very simple explanation for it. I remember years ago when I was in a store once when I worked at Guerlain, and a woman came in. The consultant wasn't there, and a woman came in saying, "I want a red lipstick, but I don't want any blue in it." I didn't know what she was talking about. I thought she was mad. I thought, "You just said you want red. What's the blue got to do with it?" Anyhow, so I picked one up. And she said, "But it's blue." And I'm thinking, no, it's not, it's red. And you'll see women always put lipstick, foundation, 2 or 3, and by putting things side by side, it helps you see colour. So the thing of smelling a perfume and comparing it to something helps you understand that, and you've just experienced that. If you've never done it before, I hope you've all done it before, but so it helps you understand. So I think then when you have, figuratively, 10 perfumes in a collection in front of you, don't smell one, oh, I like this, I don't like it. Compare and contrast it, because it will alter, and then maybe hone down to the 3 out of those 10 you like, and then wear them, put them on, live with them. I've always said perfumes are really like lovers. You only know if the love affair will last once you spend a night together. The rest is flirting. And flirting's fabulous, but it's maybe not a long-term relationship. So I think that people rush to make up an opinion, make a decision. And I think, just in case I forget, which I hope I don't, but the fact you mentioned is fair. I don't know if you realize what a brave thing it is that Madame has done putting this on.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, you know, there are so many international fragrance fairs around the world, which people travel all around the world to see, and we don't have one in this country of note. And the fact that Valerie has done it, and all that goes with it, just think whatever you do, if you own a brand and you understand all of that means, what Valerie has done to put this on, I think is really extraordinary. And I truly hope that people support her with it on many levels, because she deserves it, because Britain deserves it. And I think that really is very, very important. So bravo to you.
It's really a honor, and really, Roja, it's with my heart that I thank you very much, because for the last 30 years, you have always believed in what I do, and I have always done it my way, which is the only way, the best way.
Because you've done it from your heart.
Yes.
Which is the story of everything I've said.
Yes, exactly.
There has to be a reason for things.
Exactly.
So,
So thank you very much, Roja. If
not at
you
all.
really, thank you again, everyone. If you have any other questions,
I have
please.
one question.
Yes. Oh.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Pierre Rabin.
I'm more bold than you. I don't know when it's shining.
Can you go that way? Because I'm looking into a light and I can't. That's lovely. Thank you. I couldn't see you.
First of all, I just wanted to really genuinely thank you for the energy that you transmitted to everyone.
Thank you.
And why I'm saying that, because it was so genuine. And this is what I think the next generation needs. Genuine creators. Why I'm saying that, when you started, because I've been in business for a long time, and I remember when you started to launch this product in Iran, as they call it, in Iran, which nobody knows about it, which is one of the most important, I would say, perfume brands. You were working